Subscribe to Infidelity Tales Lab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. Chapter 1. The Night Shift. Wesley Blanchard pushed his mop cart through the polished marble corridors of Con Industries' executive floor, his reflection ghosting across the gleaming surface. 11:47 p.m. The building was a cathedral of silence at this hour, broken only by the whisper of his rubber-soled shoes and the distant hum of HVAC systems pumping filtered air through 43 floors of American corporate ambition. 5 years. 5 years since Stella died, and Wesley had spent every single night of the last 18 months in this building, working his way up from lobby maintenance to executive floor custodian. Everyone saw the uniform, the mop, the quiet man who kept his head down. No one saw the MIT graduate who once ran his own consulting firm. No one remembered the man whose wife's accidental fall from a downtown parking garage had never sat right with him. "Evening, Wesley," Dante Taylor called out, rounding the corner with his tablet tucked under his arm. Dante was the night shift building manager, a former investigative journalist who'd burned out chasing corruption stories that never quite got published. He was the only person in the building Wesley had bothered to befriend, though even Dante didn't know the real reason Wesley was here. "Dante, thought you'd left already. Last walkthrough. You hitting 42 tonight." 42 was the executive level. Thad Kahn's floor. Every night, Wesley said evenly. Same routine. Dante studied him for a moment. "You know, for a janitor, you got the vocabulary of a professor and the eyes of a guy who's looking for something." Wesley smiled without warmth. "Found what I was looking for a long time ago, Dante. It's called job security." After Dante left, Wesley took the service elevator to 42. The executive floor always struck him as excessive. Hand-carved mahogany doors, original artwork that cost more than most people's homes, a receptionist desk that probably ran 6 figures. This was where Thad Kahn, founder and CEO of Con Industries, ruled over his pharmaceutical empire. Wesley had done his research. Con Industries specialized in experimental drug trials, operating in the gray spaces where FDA oversight got murky. They'd been investigated twice, never formally charged. Thad Kahn himself was 47, married to Petra Kahn, née Bullock, no children, estimated net worth of $600 million. The man collected vintage cars and sat on 3 nonprofit boards. To the world, he was a philanthropist. To Wesley, he was something else entirely. The CEO's office was locked, but Wesley had learned to pick locks during his months here. Another skill people didn't expect from a janitor. He slipped inside, closing the door softly behind him. The office was obscene in its opulence. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a desk that could double as a dining table, leather furniture that probably cost more than Wesley's annual salary. He cleaned this room 47 times. Tonight was the first time he'd really searched it. Wesley started with the desk drawers, working methodically. Financial documents, contracts, nothing unexpected. He moved to the credenza, then the bookshelf. Behind a row of leather-bound volumes that had probably never been read, he found a small locked drawer. 5 minutes with a paperclip, and it clicked open. Inside was a single photograph. Wesley's hands went numb. The photo was from his wedding day. Stella in her white dress, radiant and laughing, her hand raised to tuck a strand of dark hair behind her ear. The image was burned into Wesley's memory. He had the same photo in his apartment, taken by Stella's best friend Kayla Church just moments before the ceremony. But why did Thad Kahn have it? "That was taken in Napa Valley," a voice said behind him. September 14th. The weather was perfect. She looked beautiful. Wesley spun around. Thad Kahn stood in the doorway, still wearing his suit despite the late hour. His hand was on the door handle. His expression was unreadable. "Why do you have this?" Wesley's voice was steady despite the adrenaline flooding his system. Kahn stepped inside and closed the door. The lock clicked with a finality that made Wesley's pulse quicken. "Because I'm the one who killed her." Chapter 2. Confession in the Dark. The confession hung in the air between them like smoke. Wesley forced himself to stay calm, to think. He was 6'2" and still in decent shape despite the years, but Kahn was younger, probably worked out regularly. The office had no other exits except the window, and they were 42 floors up. You're going to want to elaborate on that, Wesley said, his voice harder than steel. Con moved to the bar cart and poured himself 3 fingers of scotch. His hands were steady. This wasn't the behavior of a man panicking over discovery. This was something else. Wesley Blanchard, Con said, swirling the amber liquid. MIT class of '09, double major in applied mathematics and computer science. Founded Blanchard Consulting, made your first million by 30. Then your wife Stella died, and everything fell apart. Lost the business, lost the house, disappeared for 3 years before resurfacing as... He gestured vaguely. This. You've been watching me. Since the day you applied for the position. Did you really think I wouldn't run a background check on every person who sets foot on this floor? Con took a long drink. The question is, did you know who I was before you came here? Or was tonight's discovery genuine? Wesley calculated his options. The truth might be his best weapon now. I've been investigating my wife's death for 5 years. Every lead went cold. Then 6 months ago, I found evidence that Stella was working on something before she died. A pharmaceutical project. Experimental trials. That led me to Con Industries. And you became a janitor. People don't see janitors. They talk freely. They leave things lying around. Wesley kept his distance from Con, positioning himself closer to the door. So tell me, why did you kill her? Con's laugh was bitter. Because she was going to destroy me. Your wife was brilliant, Wesley. That consulting firm you had? She was the real genius behind it. Those algorithms you sold to Fortune 500 companies? Stella developed 80% of them. It was true. Stella had been the mathematician, the programmer, the one who saw patterns in chaos. Wesley had been the face, the salesman, the one who could translate her genius into something clients understood. She was freelancing, Con continued, doing analysis work for my company. We were developing a drug, Novitril, revolutionary pain management without opioid addiction. Or so we thought. Stella was analyzing the trial data when she found something. Found what? The drug was killing people. Not immediately. Not in ways that showed up in our trials. But long-term use caused organ failure. Kidney damage, liver damage. We're talking about a drug that would have made $1 billion in the first year, prescribed to millions of people. Con's jaw tightened. Stella came to me with the data. She said we had to shut down the trials, report everything to the FDA. She didn't understand what that would mean. The company would have been destroyed. I would have been destroyed. So you push her off a parking garage and made it look like suicide. It was supposed to look like an accident. She was meeting me. We argued. She threatened to go public that night. I didn't plan it, Wesley. But when she turned her back, Con drained his glass. Survival instinct is a powerful thing. Wesley felt rage building in his chest, but he kept it contained, compressed into something cold and useful. You're telling me this because you think I can't prove anything. You think you're safe. I'm telling you this because you deserve to know the truth. And because by morning, you'll be gone. You're going to kill me too. No. Con pulled out his phone, typing something. I'm going to offer you a choice. Right now, Claire Newman, my head of security, is in the parking garage with a briefcase containing $5 million in cryptocurrency keys. You take it, you disappear, and you never speak of this again. Or, you turn the phone to show Wesley an image. A woman, late 30s, walking out of a grocery store. That's Kayla Church, Stella's best friend. Last person your wife called before she died. She lives at 2847 Parkside Avenue, apartment 4B. She has a daughter named Emma, age 7. Wesley's blood turned to ice. The choice is yours, Con said softly. Money and silence. Or I start removing everyone you've ever cared about. Starting with Kayla. Then Dante Taylor downstairs. Yes, I know you two are friendly. Then your mother in Arizona. Then, I get the picture. Do you? Con moved closer, his voice taking on an edge. Because I need you to truly understand. I've killed before, and I'll kill again. I've built something here, and I will protect it with everything I have. You're not the hero in this story, Wesley. You're just another problem to be solved. Wesley looked at the photograph, still clutched in his hand. Stella smiled. Her joy on their wedding day. The future they planned. I need time to think, he said. You have until 6 a.m. Claire will wait in the garage until then. After that, the offer expires, and we move to Plan B. Con opened the door. You're free to go. But Wesley? Don't make the mistake of thinking you can outmaneuver me. You're a smart man, but I'm a survivor. Wesley walked past Con and out of the office, his mind already racing through scenarios. He took the elevator down, walked out of the building into the cool night air, and kept walking until he was certain he wasn't being followed. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Dante, he said when the journalist answered. Remember when you said, I had the eyes of a guy looking for something? I need to tell you what I found. Chapter 3, The Architect of Ruin. They met at a 24-hour diner in a part of town where Con's people wouldn't think to look. Dante Taylor slid into the booth across from Wesley, his eyes sharp despite the late hour. You look like you've seen a ghost, Dante said. Close. Wesley ordered coffee from the tired waitress and waited until she was out of earshot. My wife didn't commit suicide. She was murdered by Thad Con. He told Dante everything. The photo, the confession, the threat, the offer. When he finished, Dante sat back, processing. Jesus Christ, Dante finally said. And you're not going to take the money, would you? No, but I'm not a smart man. I'm a journalist who threw away his career because I couldn't let a story go. Dante's smile was grim, which is exactly why I'm going to help you bury this son of a bitch. Con has resources, money, power, people who will kill on his orders. And you have something he doesn't. Dante leaned forward. You have nothing left to lose. You already lost everything that mattered. That makes you dangerous. Wesley sipped his coffee, thinking, I spent 18 months in that building. I know his routines, his weaknesses, his secrets. And I've been preparing for this moment since the day I realized Stella's death wasn't an accident. What's the play? Con killed Stella because she discovered Novitrol was toxic. He buried the evidence and launched the drug anyway. It's been on the market for 4 years now. Wesley pulled out a laptop from his bag, a piece of equipment that seemed incongruous for a janitor to carry. I've been tracking adverse event reports filed with the FDA. There's a pattern. Kidney and liver failures in long-term Novitrol users. But the reports are scattered, filed by different doctors in different states. No one's connected the dots because Con Industries has been very careful about burying the connection. You've connected them. Every single one. I have names, dates, medical records. Everything Stella would have wanted brought to light. Wesley's voice was cold. But that's just the foundation. If I expose Con now, he'll throw money at lawyers, settle out of court, maybe lose some stock value. He'll claim ignorance, blame subordinates. He might even avoid prison. So what are you planning? Wesley was quiet for a moment, staring at his reflection in the diner window. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight that made Dante shiver. I'm going to make him confess. Publicly. In a way he can't recant or deny. I'm going to strip away everything he's built. His reputation, his company, his freedom. And I'm going to make sure he knows exactly why it's happening. He looked at Dante. But I need help. And I need you to understand that what I'm about to do, it's not entirely legal. Good, Dante said. The legal route is what got my career killed. What do you need? Over the next 2 hours, Wesley laid out his plan. It was audacious, dangerous, and relied on dozens of variables aligning perfectly. But it was also elegant in its simplicity, used Con's own paranoia and survival instinct against him. First, I need you to reach out to your old contacts. Anyone you know who worked on investigations into Con Industries. I need everything they couldn't print, every rumor they couldn't verify, every source who was too scared to go on record. Dante nodded. I still have my files. There were at least 3 other journalists who tried to nail Con before me. One of them died in a car accident 2 years ago. Suspicious. Officially? No. But it happened 2 weeks before he was supposed to testify in a wrongful death lawsuit against Con Industries. The case was dismissed. Dante pulled out his phone, already scrolling through contacts. I'll reach out to the others. Second, I need to talk to Kayla Church. Stella's friend? Con threatened her, which is why I need to warn her. But I also need to know what Stella told her before she died. Kayla was the last person Stella called. There might be something there. I'll set it up, Dante said. What else? Wesley's expression hardened. I need to meet Detective Quinnan Lee. He was the lead investigator on Stella's death. The case was closed as accidental, but I always wondered if he believed that conclusion. You think he'll help? I think he'll want the truth. Most detectives do. Wesley stood, leaving cash on the table. We have until 6 a.m. before Khan's offer expires. After that, he'll come after us. We need to move fast. Kayla Church lived in a modest apartment complex in a neighborhood that had seen better days. When Wesley knocked at 4:15 a.m., she answered with a baseball bat in her hand and fear in her eyes. Wesley, her expression shifted from terror to confusion to relief in rapid succession. What the hell are you doing here at? We need to talk. About Stella. And about Thad Khan. The fear returned. I told the police everything I knew 5 years ago. I'm not police, and I need to know what you didn't tell them. Kayla hesitated, then led him inside. The apartment was small but tidy, with children's drawings on the refrigerator and the faint smell of last night's dinner. She'd rebuilt her life after Stella died, found some measure of peace. Wesley was about to shatter it. Khan knows about you, Wesley said without preamble. He threatened you tonight. You and Emma. The color drained from Kayla's face. Why? I don't know anything. You were the last person Stella called before she died. The night she confronted Khan. I need to know what she said. Kayla sat down heavily on the couch, the bat still clutched in her hands. She was scared. She said she found something at work, something bad. She said, Kayla's voice cracked. She said if anything happened to her, I should look into Khan Industries drug trials. She made me promise to remember that name, Novitril. Did she send you anything? Files, data, evidence? No, at least. I don't think so. Kayla's eyes widened. Wait, she sent me an email that night. I never opened it. It came through around 10 p.m., and by the next morning, she was dead. I couldn't bear to read it. It felt too much like reading a suicide note. Wesley's heart raced. Do you still have access to that email account? I never delete anything. Kayla grabbed her laptop with shaking hands, pulling up her email. She scrolled through her archived messages until she found it. The subject line was just 2 words, insurance policy. When she opened it, there was no text, just an encrypted file attachment and a string of numbers, what looked like a password. Wesley downloaded it immediately, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Stella was always paranoid about digital security. She taught me some of her tricks. He entered the number string, and the file unpacked into dozens of folders. Data, raw trial results, analysis reports, video recordings of meetings. This is everything, Wesley breathed. This is what Khan killed her for. What are you going to do? Kayla asked. Wesley met her eyes. I'm going to finish what Stella started. But you and Emma need to disappear for a few days. Do you have family out of state? My sister in Colorado. Go there. Today. Right now. Don't tell anyone where you're going. And Kayla, Wesley's voice softened. Stella was the best person I've ever known. What happened to her wasn't your fault. But I'm going to make sure Khan pays for it. Kayla nodded, tears streaming down her face. Make him suffer, Wesley. For Stella. I intend to. Detective Quentin Lee was eating breakfast at his desk when Wesley walked into the police station at 5:30 a.m. Lee looked up, recognition flickering across his weathered face. Wesley Blanchard. Haven't seen you in 3 years. 4. You investigated my wife's death. Lee's expression shuddered. That case is closed. Accidental fall. I'm sorry for your loss, but unless you have new evidence. I do. Wesley sat down uninvited and opened his laptop. My wife was murdered by Thad Khan, CEO of Khan Industries. He confessed to me last night, and I have the evidence she died for. For the next 20 minutes, Wesley showed Lee everything. The encrypted files from Stella, the adverse event reports, the connection to Novitril, and finally, a recording he'd made on his phone of Khan's confession. It wasn't admissible in court. Single-party consent wasn't legal in this state, but it was enough to make Lee sit up and listen. Son of a bitch, Lee muttered, watching Khan describe pushing Stella off the parking garage. I knew that case felt wrong, but Khan had alibis, witnesses, lawyers. The pressure came from above to close it quick and move on. He's a rich man with connections, but he's also arrogant. He thinks he's untouchable. Wesley closed the laptop. I need your help, detective. Not officially, but I need you to be ready to arrest him when the time comes. When what time comes? What exactly are you planning? Wesley smiled, and there was no warmth in it. I'm going to make him confess again. This time, in front of witnesses. This time, in a way that can't be buried or denied. Lee studied him. You're talking about some kind of revenge plan. I can't be part of that. I'm talking about justice. Stella deserves it. So do the people who've been harmed by Novitril. So do the next people Khan would kill to protect his empire. Wesley stood. All I'm asking is that you be ready. I'll call you when it's time. And detective, don't warn Khan. He has people everywhere. Lee didn't respond, but he didn't stop Wesley from leaving either. As Wesley walked out of the station into the early morning sun, his phone buzzed. It was 6 a.m. A text from an unknown number. Time's up. Made your choice? CN. Claire Newman. Khan's enforcer. Wesley texted back. Tell Khan I'm coming for him. The response came immediately. You're making a mistake. Wesley smiled at his phone. No, he did. 5 years ago. Chapter 4. Pieces in Motion. Wesley spent the next 3 days becoming invisible. He moved out of his apartment, crashed with Dante in a studio across town, and went completely off the grid. No credit cards, no phone calls except through burner phones, no digital footprint. He learned a few things during his 3-year disappearance after Stella's death. How to vanish when you needed to. But while he was invisible, his plan was becoming very visible indeed. Dante's journalism contacts had come through. By Wednesday morning, they had testimony from 3 former Khan Industries employees who'd been part of the Novitril trials. All 3 had been paid generously to sign non-disclosure agreements. All 3 were now willing to break those agreements if it meant stopping Khan. One of them was Dr. Socorro Drake, a clinical researcher who'd been let go from Khan Industries 2 years prior. I tried to tell them the drug was dangerous, Dr. Drake said, sitting in the diner where Wesley and Dante had made their headquarters. The data was clear. Long-term users were showing signs of organ damage. But Khan suppressed the findings. He said we'd adjust the dosing recommendations and it would be fine. Did you keep copies of the data? Wesley asked. I kept everything. Call it insurance against the day Khan decided to make me a scapegoat. Dr. Drake pulled out a flash drive. Trial results, internal memos, emails between Khan and his legal team discussing how to minimize liability. It's all there. Wesley took the drive like it was made of gold. Why didn't you come forward before? Because I was scared. Khan Industries has deep pockets and dangerous friends. But when Dante reached out and told me about your wife, Dr. Drake's jaw tightened. I knew Stella Vance. She consulted on the trial data analysis. She was brilliant and ethical. If Khan killed her to silence her, then I can't stay quiet anymore. You might lose everything, Dante warned. Khan will come after you legally, financially. I'm 57 years old with terminal cancer, Dr. Drake interrupted. Stage 4. 6 months if I'm lucky. Khan can't take anything from me that matters anymore. But I can help make sure he pays for what he's done. Wesley felt a surge of respect for the woman. Thank you. This will make a difference. Over the next days, more pieces fell into place. Dante tracked down Leonardo Salinas, Khan's business partner and co-founder of Khan Industries. Salinas had been pushed out of the company 3 years ago in what was portrayed as an amicable retirement. The truth was messy. They met Salinas at a country club where the man spent his days drinking expensive wine and nursing grievances against his former partner. Thad Khan is a snake, Salinas said without preamble. Brilliant, charming, and absolutely ruthless. We built the company together, but when I started asking questions about Novitril's safety profile, suddenly I was ready for retirement. He paid me enough to ensure my silence, but I've regretted taking that money every day since. What can you tell us about Khan's operations? Wesley asked. Everything. Thad and I have no privilege anymore. I'm not employed by the company, and I signed no NDAs when I left beyond the standard stock options agreement. Salinas' smile was sharp. I know where every body is buried, metaphorically speaking, and I'm happy to help dig them up. Salinas provided detailed information about Khan Industries' financial structure, the offshore accounts used to hide payments to researchers who delivered favorable results, the network of shell companies used to insulate Khan from liability. It was a masterclass in corporate corruption. But Wesley's most important ally came from an unexpected direction. On Friday afternoon, as Wesley was reviewing Dr. Drake's data in Dante's apartment, there was a knock at the door. Dante checked the peephole, then opened it to reveal Detective Quentin Lee. "Should have known you'd be involved," Lee said to Dante. "Always did have a death wish when it came to powerful people." "Detective," Wesley said carefully, "I'm surprised to see you." "Don't be. I've been doing some digging of my own." Lee came inside, pulling out a thick folder. "Your wife's case file. The official one," and he pulled out another folder, thinner, my unofficial notes. "The things that bother me. The inconsistencies I couldn't explain." Wesley took the folders like they were sacred texts. "Why are you helping?" "Because I've been a cop for 27 years, and I can count on one hand the number of cases that keep me up at night. Stella Vance is one of them." Lee's expression was hard. I knew something was wrong. The scene was too clean, too convenient. Khan's alibi was too perfect. But I had no proof, and my lieutenant was pushing to close the case. "Now you've given me proof." "Unofficially," Wesley reminded him. "Officially, I'm investigating new leads in an old case. Unofficially, I'm making sure that when you bring Khan down, there's a cop there to put him in handcuffs." Lee sat down. "So tell me the rest of your plan." Wesley glanced at Dante, who nodded. Then he laid it out. "Khan thinks he's won. He thinks I either took his money or I'm hiding. He thinks the threat against Kayla and others scared me off. That's exactly where I want him, complacent, confident." Wesley opened his laptop, showing a complex flowchart. "But I've been busy. I've sent the Novitrol data to 3 separate journalists at major newspapers, all people Dante trusts. They're vetting it now, preparing stories. I've also filed complaints with the FDA under multiple names, victims' families, anonymous researchers. The agency is starting to take notice. That'll take months to result in any action," Lee pointed out. "I know, which is why we're not waiting for official channels." Wesley pulled up another document. "In 2 weeks, Khan Industries is holding their annual shareholder meeting. It's mandatory. Khan has to attend. It's held at the Grand Metropolitan Hotel downtown, with over 300 shareholders present. Press coverage. Public records. You're going to expose him there," Dante said, understanding dawning. "Better. I'm going to make him confess. Again. But this time, I'll have audiovisual evidence, witnesses, and Detective Lee waiting to make an arrest." Wesley's smile was predatory. "I'm going to destroy him in front of everyone who matters to him. His investors, his peers, the media. And I'm going to do it using his own words." Lee frowned. "How exactly are you planning to get a confession?" "By giving him exactly what he wants most in the world," Wesley said. "A way out. A solution to his problem. Me." Chapter 5. The Bait. The shareholder meeting was on a Tuesday. Wesley had 12 days to prepare. He spent them meticulously, obsessively, checking and rechecking every detail. This wasn't just about revenge, though God knew he wanted that. This was about making sure Khan couldn't wriggle free, couldn't buy his way out, couldn't sacrifice a subordinate while he walked away clean. This was about justice for Stella and everyone else Khan had hurt. On the Friday before the meeting, Wesley made his move. He sent an email to Thad Khan from an anonymous account. "We need to talk. Your shareholder meeting is in 4 days. I have information that will destroy you, but I'm willing to negotiate. Meet me at the old Riverside warehouse Saturday midnight. Come alone, and we can make a deal. Bring security, and everything goes public Monday morning. WB." The response came within an hour. "You're insane if you think I'm walking into that trap. Whatever game you're playing, it's over. TK." Wesley smiled and sent another email. "Not a trap. I have what Stella had, the complete Novitrol data. But I also have more. I've spent 5 years digging into your past, Khan. I know about the other trials, the other bodies, the other crimes you buried. I know things that would put you away for life. But I'm tired. I'm done. I want out, and I want compensation. $50 million in cryptocurrency transferred to an account I'll provide. In exchange, you get everything I have. Every copy, every file, every piece of evidence. It disappears, and so do I. Or you can refuse, and I burn your empire to the ground Tuesday morning in front of 300 shareholders and a dozen reporters. Your choice. WB." This time, the response took longer. For hours. When it came, it was cautious. If you have what you say you have, prove it. Wesley had anticipated this. He sent a single file, a video clip from Stella's data. It showed Khan in a meeting with his legal team, discussing how to manage the Novitril adverse event reports. The audio was clear, damning. That's a sample. I have 40 hours of recordings like that, plus the trial data, plus sworn testimony from 3 former employees, plus financial records showing how you've been paying off doctors and researchers. You've been thorough, Khan, but Stella was more thorough. Meet me Saturday or face the consequences. WB. The final response came at midnight. Riverside Warehouse. Saturday at midnight. I'm bringing Claire Newman with me for security. Non-negotiable. TK. Perfect. Wesley wanted Claire there. The more witnesses to what was about to happen, the better. This is insane, Dante said for the 15th time. You're meeting with a man who's already admitted to murder, and you're doing it in an abandoned warehouse like this is some kind of action movie. It needs to feel like a trap, Wesley explained, adjusting the tiny camera hidden in his jacket button. Khan has to think he's walking into my endgame. He needs to feel threatened enough to make a mistake. They were in Dante's apartment, preparing. Detective Lee sat on the couch, checking his service weapon with the practiced ease of a man who'd been doing it for 3 decades. I don't like this, Lee said. Too many variables. What if Khan just shoots you? He won't. He's careful, methodical. He'll want to see what I have first, verify it's real. And he'll want to make sure that killing me won't somehow trigger a dead man switch that releases everything. Wesley finished with the camera and moved to the backup recording device, a phone in his pocket that would stream audio to Dante's laptop. Besides, you'll be watching. If things go south, you move in. If things go south, you could be dead before I get there, Lee pointed out. Then make sure you're close enough to prevent that. Saturday night arrived cold and clear. The Riverside Warehouse sat in an industrial district that had been declining for 20 years. Half the buildings were abandoned, and the area was deserted after dark. It was perfect for what Wesley needed, isolated, atmospheric, and thoroughly wired with the surveillance equipment Dante had spent the last 3 days installing. Wesley arrived at 11:45 p.m., parking his car, a rental registered under a fake name, in the shadows. He walked into the warehouse through the main entrance, his footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. The building had once been a textile factory. Now it was just rusted machinery and broken windows. At 11:58 p.m., a sleek black SUV pulled up outside. Thad Khan stepped out, followed by Claire Newman, a mountain of a man with dead eyes and a visible sidearm. They entered cautiously, Newman leading with a tactical flashlight. Wesley Blanchard, Khan called out. Show yourself. Wesley stepped into the pool of light from Newman's flashlight. I'm here, alone as promised. Khan studied him. You look different than I remember. Harder. Prison will do that to a man, or so I imagine. Where have you been hiding? Around. Watching you. Learning your patterns. Wesley kept his hands visible, non-threatening. Did you bring what I asked for? Khan held up a tablet. Cryptocurrency wallet access. $50 million as requested. But you don't get this until I verify you have what you claim. Fair enough. Wesley pulled out his phone, bringing up a folder structure. This is everything Stella compiled, plus 5 years of my own investigation. Trial data, financial records, witness statements, video, and audio recordings. Enough to put you away from multiple life sentences. Let me see. Wesley handed over the phone. Khan scrolled through the files, his expression darkening with each screen. Beside him, Claire Newman stayed alert, his hand never far from his weapon. This is comprehensive, Khan finally said. Your wife was even more dangerous than I thought. She was brilliant and ethical. Everything you're not. Khan looked up sharply. Careful, Wesley. You're here to make a deal, remember? Not deliver moral lectures. Actually, Wesley said, his voice changing, growing colder, I'm here for something else entirely. That's when the lights came on. Chapter 6, The Trap Springs. Floodlights blazed throughout the warehouse, revealing that Wesley wasn't alone. Detective Quentin Lee stepped out from behind a concrete pillar, his badge visible, his weapon drawn but pointed at the ground. Dante Taylor emerged from another direction, a video camera in his hands. And behind Khan and Newman, blocking the exit, stood two uniformed officers. "What the hell is this?" Khan demanded. "This," Wesley said, "is justice." "Detective Lee, I believe you have questions for Mr. Khan regarding the death of Stella Vance." But Khan was already moving, his lawyer instincts kicking in. "I'm not saying anything without my attorney present. And this," he gestured at the setup, "this is entrapment. Nothing recorded here is admissible." "You're right about that," Lee admitted, "which is why I'm not arresting you right now. I'm here as a witness." Khan's eyes narrowed. "A witness to what?" "To this." Wesley pulled out a remote control and clicked it. A projector hummed to life, throwing a massive image onto the warehouse wall, the photo of Stella from Khan's office drawer. "That's my wife, the woman you murdered 5 years ago, the woman you've kept a photo of like some kind of trophy." "I'm leaving," Khan said, turning toward the exit. "I wouldn't," Wesley said calmly. Claire Newman had taken a step toward the door, but froze when the two uniformed officers moved to block the path. "Because while this meeting isn't admissible, what happens Tuesday at your shareholder meeting will be very admissible and very public." Khan turned back slowly. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the fact that I don't actually need your confession. Not anymore. I have enough evidence to bury you 20 times over. Dr. Socorro Drake is going to testify. Leonardo Salinas is going to testify. 3 major newspapers are running stories on Monday about Novitrol's safety issues and your cover-up. The FDA is launching a formal investigation, and Detective Lee is reopening my wife's case with new evidence." Wesley stepped closer, his voice hard as iron. "I brought you here tonight to give you one chance. One opportunity to do the right thing before everything comes crashing down. Tuesday morning, at your shareholder meeting, you're going to confess. Everything. Stella's murder, the Novitrol cover-up, all of it. You're going to tell the truth, publicly, and you're going to face the consequences." Khan laughed, but sounded forced. "And why would I do that?" "Because if you don't, I'm going to make sure your wife goes down with you." That got a reaction. Khan's face went white. "Petra has nothing to do with this." "Doesn't she?" Wesley clicked the remote again. New images appeared on the wall. Bank records, emails, meeting notes. Petra Khan, née Bullock, served as chief financial officer of Khan Industries until 2019. She was directly involved in the decision to suppress Novitrol's safety data. She signed off on the payments to researchers. She helped structure the shell companies used to hide assets. She's as guilty as you are. That's not true. Petra does what I tell her. She's innocent. Then prove it. Tuesday morning, you confess. Take full responsibility. Make it clear that you acted alone, that you deceived your wife and your company. You do that, and I'll make sure the investigation focuses on you and you alone." Petra walks away free. Wesley's smile was sharp. "But if you don't confess, if you try to fight this, I'm going to make sure Petra is charged as a co-conspirator. Your children, oh wait, you don't have any. But your wife? She'll spend the rest of her life in prison, and that will be on you." Khan stood frozen, his mind clearly racing through options. Wesley watched him calculate, watched the survival instinct war with the protective instinct. "You're bluffing," Khan finally said. "Petra's exposure is minimal. Try me," Wesley said softly. "You kill my wife. You threaten Kayla and her daughter. You've left a trail of victims in your wake. I have nothing left to lose, Khan. But you do. So here's how this is going to work. Tuesday morning, you show up at that shareholder meeting. At exactly 10:15 a.m., during the Q&A session, you're going to stand up and confess everything. The murder, the cover-up, all of it. Detective Lee will be there to arrest you. And Petra will be in the audience, hearing it for the first time. And if I refuse, then Monday morning, the FBI raids your house and arrests both of you. I've been working with an assistant district attorney, friend of Dante's. She's very interested in the evidence I compiled." Wesley held up a flash drive. "This contains everything. Copies are already in safe deposit boxes with attorneys, with journalists. You can't stop what's coming. The only choice you have is whether you face it alone or drag Petra down with you." Khan's hands were shaking now. Claire Newman stood tense beside him, clearly wanting to act but unsure what action to take. "Why Tuesday?" Con asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Why give me 3 days? Because I want you to suffer. I want you to spend the next 3 days knowing exactly what's coming. I want you to lie next to your wife at night, knowing you're about to destroy her life along with your own. Unless you do the right thing. Wesley's expression was merciless. Stella had 3 days between when you threatened her and when you killed her. 3 days of fear, of knowing someone wanted her dead. I'm giving you the same courtesy. Con looked at the images on the wall, at the evidence of his crimes displayed like an art gallery of his sins. Then he looked at Wesley with something that might have been respect. You're a ruthless son of a bitch, Con said. I learned from the best, Wesley replied. See you Tuesday, Con. Don't be late. Lee and his officers escorted Con and Newman out of the warehouse. Wesley watched them go, feeling something cold and hard settle in his chest. Not satisfaction, not yet, but certainty. This was really happening. That was intense, Dante said, lowering his camera. Think he'll actually confess? He will, Wesley said, because at the end of the day, Con's a survivor. And I just gave him a way to survive this, barely. He'll sacrifice himself to save his wife. It's the only play he has left. Lee returned a few minutes later, holstering his weapon. I don't like this. It's too elaborate. What if Con runs? What if he just doesn't show up Tuesday? He'll show, Wesley said with confidence he didn't entirely feel. Con's ego won't let him run. He spent his whole life building an empire, creating an image. He won't destroy that by fleeing. He'll show up, thinking he can somehow talk his way out of this, somehow find an angle we haven't considered. And if he does find an angle, Wesley's smile was cold. Then we go to plan B. But he won't. I know how he thinks. I've spent 5 years studying him. Tuesday morning, Thad Con is going to confess to murder in front of 300 witnesses. And you're going to arrest him. I hope you're right, Lee said. Wesley looked at the projection on the wall, Stella's photo, frozen in a moment of joy that Con had stolen from her. I have to be right. For her. Chapter 7. The longest weekend. Sunday was the hardest. Wesley spent it in Dante's apartment, reviewing the plan obsessively, checking for flaws. Every hour that passed felt like a week. What if Con ran? What if he called Wesley's bluff? What if he found some way to turn this around? You need to sleep, Dante said around midnight. You're no good to anyone if you collapse. I can't. Not yet. Wesley was on his laptop, monitoring news feeds, watching for any sign that Con was making moves. He's had 24 hours to process. If he's going to run or fight, he'll make his move soon. But Con didn't run. Instead, he did something Wesley hadn't anticipated. He went to church. Dante's contact at a local newspaper sent a photo. Thad Con and his wife Petra, sitting in the front pew of St. Michael's Cathedral for Sunday morning service. They looked like any other wealthy couple seeking spiritual guidance. But Wesley saw the truth in Con's posture, the way he gripped Petra's hand like a drowning man clutching a life preserver. He's saying goodbye to his old life, Wesley observed, making peace with what's coming. On Monday, Con went to work as usual. But according to Leonardo Salinas, who still had friends in the company, Con spent the day in private meetings with his legal team and CFO. Company insiders reported he seemed distracted, unfocused. One secretary mentioned he'd been staring at a photograph on his desk for nearly an hour during the afternoon. What photograph? Wesley asked when Dante relayed the information. She didn't know. Something in a frame he usually keeps in his drawer. Wesley knew exactly which photograph it was. Monday night at 11:47 p.m., Wesley's burner phone rang. The number was unlisted. He answered on the 4th ring. Wesley. Con's voice was tired, defeated. Tomorrow. I'll do it. But I need your word that Petra walks away from this clean. You have it, Wesley said. Confess to everything. Stella's murder, the Novitrol cover-up, everything. Take full responsibility. Make it clear you acted alone and deceived everyone around you. Do that, and Petra's name stays out of the charges. How do I know you won't go back on your word? Because unlike you, I keep my promises. And because I'm not interested in punishing innocent people. I'm interested in justice. Wesley paused. Stella believed in redemption. Even at the end, she gave you a chance to do the right thing. I'm giving you the same chance. Don't waste it. Con was silent for a long moment. I didn't want to kill her. I want you to know that. It was never supposed to happen that way. But it did happen, and you've spent 5 years trying to bury it. Tomorrow, you stop running. Tomorrow, Khan agreed and disconnected. Wesley set down the phone and exhaled slowly. Dante looked up from his laptop. He's really going to do it? Yes, Wesley said. He's going to confess. Tuesday morning arrived with crystalline clarity. The Grand Metropolitan Hotel's conference hall was already filling with shareholders, press, and Khan Industries employees by 9:30 a.m. Wesley arrived early, wearing a suit he'd borrowed from Dante, the first formal clothing he'd worn in 18 months. He blended into the crowd, just another attendee at a corporate event. Detective Lee was there too, along with 2 plainclothes officers positioned near the exits. Dante sat in the press section with his camera and his old press credentials, ready to document everything. Dr. Socorro Drake was in attendance, her face drawn but determined. Leonardo Salinas sat in the front row, his expression unreadable. And in the back, almost unnoticed, sat Kayla Church. She'd returned from Colorado despite Wesley's advice, saying she needed to see this for Stella. At 9:55 a.m., Thad Khan entered the room with his wife Petra and several members of his executive team. He looked composed, every inch the successful CEO, but Wesley noticed the tightness around his eyes, the way his hands trembled slightly when he greeted shareholders. The meeting started on schedule. Financial reports were presented. Projected growth was discussed. Dividends were announced. It was all terribly mundane, the machinery of capitalism grinding along as if justice wasn't about to be served. At 10:12 a.m., the floor was open for questions. At 10:15 a.m., exactly as Wesley had demanded, Thad Khan stood up. Before we proceed further, Khan said, his voice carrying across the silent room, I have something I need to say. Something I should have said 5 years ago. The room went quiet. Petra looked up at her husband in confusion. The board members exchanged glances, and Wesley held his breath. My name is Thad Khan, and I'm a murderer. Chapter 8, Confession. The conference room erupted. Shareholders shouted questions. Reporters surged forward with cameras and recorders. The board members tried to intervene, to stop Khan from speaking, but he waved them off. Please, Khan said, his voice cracking. Let me finish. I need to finish. Petra stood up, grabbing his arm. Thad, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Khan looked at his wife with infinite sadness. I'm sorry, Petra, for everything, for lying to you, for putting you in danger, for destroying everything we built. He turned back to the room. 5 years ago, I murdered a woman named Stella Vance. She was a consultant working for Khan Industries, analyzing data from our Novitrol drug trials. She discovered that the drug was causing serious health problems, organ damage, kidney failure. She came to me with the evidence and told me we needed to shut down the trials, report everything to the FDA. The room was completely silent now, everyone hanging on Khan's words. I couldn't let that happen. Novitrol was supposed to be our flagship product, our breakthrough. I'd invested everything in it. Money, reputation, the company's future. If we shut it down, Khan Industries would have collapsed. I would have been destroyed. Khan's hands gripped the podium. So I killed her. I invited her to meet me at a parking garage downtown. We argued. She turned to leave, to go public with the data, and I pushed her over the railing. I made it look like an accident. Petra made it sound like a wounded animal. Khan couldn't look at her. But it didn't end there, he continued, his voice mechanical now, like he was reading from a script he'd memorized. I suppressed the Novitrol safety data. I paid researchers to falsify results. I buried adverse event reports. I spent 5 years selling a drug I knew was harming people, all to protect my company and my reputation. And when Stella's husband, Khan's eyes found Wesley in the crowd, when Wesley Blanchard started investigating, I threatened him. I threatened his friends. I offered him money to stay silent. I was prepared to kill him too, if necessary. Detective Lee was already moving toward the podium, his badge out. The uniformed officers moved to block the exits. Khan held up his hands. I'm not running. I'm done running. Khan finally looked at his wife. Petra knew nothing about any of this. She's innocent. Everything I did alone. I deceived her. I deceived the board. I deceived everyone. The guilt is mine and mine alone. Lee reached the podium. Thad Khan, you're under arrest for the murder of Stella Vance and multiple counts of fraud, obstruction of justice, and corporate malfeasance. He began reading the Miranda rights as he cuffed Khan's hands behind his back. The conference room devolved into chaos. Reporters were shouting questions, shareholders were demanding answers, board members were trying to maintain control. Petra Khan had collapsed into a chair, sobbing, as attorneys swarmed around her. Wesley watched it all from his position in the crowd, feeling something he hadn't felt in 5 years: completion. Not peace, not satisfaction exactly, but the sense that a terrible journey had finally reached its end. Dante appeared beside him, still recording everything. You did it, he said quietly. Stella did it, Wesley corrected. I just finished what she started. As Lee led Khan toward the exit, the CEO stopped and turned to find Wesley in the crowd. Their eyes met across the room. Khan nodded once, an acknowledgement, perhaps an apology. Wesley stared back, his face expressionless. Then Khan was gone, led away by the police, and the chaos continued around them. The aftermath was swift and brutal. By Tuesday afternoon, Khan Industries' stock had plummeted. By Wednesday, the FDA had announced a formal investigation into Novitrol and suspended sales pending review. By Thursday, the first wave of lawsuits had been filed by victims' families. Wesley gave his statement to Detective Lee, turned over all of Stella's evidence, and then stopped. For the first time in 5 years, he had nothing to chase, no investigation to pursue, no revenge to plan. The sudden absence of purpose was disorienting. He met with Dr. Socorro Drake at a coffee shop Friday afternoon. She looked tired but satisfied. The FDA wants to interview me, she said. My testimony is going to help shut down not just Novitrol, but several other questionable trials Khan was running. We might actually save some lives. Stella would be happy about that, Wesley said. She'd be proud of you. Dr. Drake corrected gently. You could have just killed Khan. God knows you had reason to. But you made him face justice instead. That takes strength. It takes something, Wesley agreed. I'm not sure it's strength. Saturday morning, Wesley visited Stella's grave for the first time in 2 years. He brought flowers, white roses, her favorite, and sat on the grass beside the headstone. It's done, he said quietly. Khan confessed. He's going to prison for the rest of his life. The drug you died to expose is being pulled from market. Your data is saving lives. He paused, feeling the weight of 5 years pressing down on him. I know you wouldn't have wanted me to spend so long on revenge. You always said life was for living, not for dwelling on the past. But I couldn't let it go. I couldn't let him get away with it. The wind rustled through the cemetery trees. Wesley imagined he could hear Stella's voice in it. Not forgiving, not condemnation, just her presence, the memory of who she'd been. I don't know what comes next, he admitted. I don't know who I am anymore, without the investigation, without the anger. But I'm going to figure it out. For you. For us. He stayed at the grave until sunset, talking to her, remembering better days, and finally saying goodbye. Chapter 9. Restoration. 3 months after Khan's confession, Wesley stood in front of a small office building in the business district. The sign above the door read, Vance Consulting Group, Data Analysis and Corporate Ethics. Dante stood beside him, holding a cardboard box full of office supplies. You sure about the name? Using her maiden name? I'm sure. This is her legacy as much as mine. Maybe more. Wesley unlocked the door and stepped inside. The office was small but well lit, with windows overlooking the street. It smelled of fresh paint and new possibilities. VCG, Dante said, testing the acronym, has a nice ring to it. Over the past 3 months, Wesley had rebuilt his life from the ground up. He'd used some of the settlement money from a lawsuit against Khan Industries. They'd paid handsomely to avoid admitting they'd knowingly employed a murderer to start a new consulting firm. But this wasn't about making money. This was about making sure what happened to Stella never happened again. Vance Consulting Group specialized in corporate ethics and safety data analysis. They worked with pharmaceutical companies, medical device manufacturers, anyone dealing with products that could harm people if the data was manipulated or suppressed. Wesley had partnered with Dr. Socorro Drake, still alive, defying her prognosis, and Leonardo Salinas, who'd brought his knowledge of corporate corruption to the team. "We start taking clients Monday," Wesley said, unpacking the box. "Already have 3 pharmaceutical companies requesting audits of their trial data. Apparently, our reputation precedes us." "The I exposed a murderous CO reputation?" Dante asked with a grin. "The we actually care about safety over profits reputation," Wesley corrected. But he was smiling too. The door opened, and Kayla Church entered with her daughter Emma. The 7-year-old ran to Wesley and hugged his legs, a ritual that had started after the trial, when Kayla had brought Emma to meet the man who'd made sure her Aunt Stella got justice. "Uncle Wesley," Emma said excitedly. "Mom says you're opening your office today." "That's right. Want to see?" Wesley gave them a tour of the small space, showing Emma the desk where he'd work, the meeting room where they'd consult with clients, the wall where he'd hung a large photograph of Stella, not from her wedding day, but from a work conference where she was presenting data, her face alive with intellectual excitement. "She looks happy," Kayla said softly, looking at the photo. "She was happiest when she was solving problems," Wesley agreed. "When she was using her mind to make things better. That's what we're going to do here." After Kayla and Emma left, Wesley stood alone in his new office, looking at Stella's photograph. The past 3 months had been a whirlwind. Khan's trial, the media attention, the settlements, the interviews. But through it all, Wesley had focused on building something meaningful from the ashes of tragedy. Khan had been sentenced to life without parole for Stella's murder, plus additional decades for the corporate crimes. Novitril had been pulled from the market, and victims were finally getting compensation. Petra Khan had divorced her husband and was cooperating with investigators. Her name cleared as Khan had promised. And Wesley was learning to live again. His phone buzzed with a text from Detective Lee. "Lunch next week? Want to talk about another cold case that could use your eyes?" Wesley smiled and replied, "Absolutely." He'd found his purpose again, but it was different now. Not revenge, not anger, justice. Helping people who couldn't help themselves. Exposing truths that powerful people wanted buried. Using his skills to make sure no one else lost their loved ones to corporate greed and murderous secrets. He pulled out his laptop and started working on the company's first case. A medical device manufacturer whose product had been linked to 12 deaths, but whose executives were claiming ignorance. Wesley dove into the data with the same intensity he'd once directed at Khan, feeling the familiar thrill of the investigation. But this time it wasn't personal. This time it was professional. This time he was Stella's partner again, continuing the work she'd started, fighting the battle she'd fought. As the sun set over the city, Wesley worked late in his new office, surrounded by data and evidence and the photograph of his wife smiling down at him. He'd started this journey in darkness, drowning in grief and rage. He'd followed it through 5 years of obsession and 18 months of deception. Now, finally, he'd found his way back to the light. "We got him, Stella," Wesley said to the photograph. "And we're just getting started." Outside, the city hummed with life. Millions of people going about their days, unaware of the battles being fought in their name, the dangers being uncovered, the justice being served. Wesley was aware now, in a way he hadn't been before Stella's death. Aware of the darkness that lurked behind corporate smiles and polished press releases. But he was also aware of something else. The capacity for good, for redemption, for using pain as fuel to create something meaningful. He'd been broken by loss, consumed by revenge, driven by rage. But he'd emerged on the other side, not as a victim or a vigilante, but as someone who'd chosen justice over vengeance, purpose over despair. His computer dinged with an email from Dr. Drake. "Reviewed the medical device data you sent. This is worse than we thought. We need to move fast." Wesley cracked his knuckles and started typing his response, already formulating a plan. There were more Thad Khans in the world. More people who put profits over lives, who buried evidence and silenced whistleblowers. But now there was also Vance Consulting Group, standing ready to expose them. Stella's death had changed him irrevocably. But her life, Her ethics, her brilliance, her commitment to truth. That was his guide now. That was the legacy worth preserving. Wesley Blanchard had spent 5 years as a ghost, 18 months as a janitor, and 3 days executing the perfect revenge. Now he was something else entirely. A guardian, a detective, a voice for the silenced. And he was just getting started. Epilogue. 2 years later. The headline in the Wall Street Journal read, Vance Consulting Group exposes massive safety cover-up at biotech giant. CEO arrested. Wesley set down the newspaper and smiled. VCG had grown to 15 employees, with offices in 3 cities. They'd exposed 8 corporate cover-ups, saved countless lives, and put 6 executives in prison. Dr. Drake had finally succumbed to her cancer 6 months prior, but not before training 3 new analysts to carry on her work. Leonardo Salinas was now their COO, using his insider knowledge to identify companies worth investigating. Dante Taylor had returned to journalism, writing exposés based on VCG's findings. His latest article, a comprehensive look at corporate corruption in the pharmaceutical industry, had been nominated for a Pulitzer. And Wesley? Wesley had finally stopped having nightmares about Stella's death. Instead, he dreamed of her life, their life together, the future they planned, the work they'd both believed in. The dreams weren't painful anymore. They were reminders of what mattered, fuel for the battles ahead. Thad Khan would spend the rest of his life in prison, his empire destroyed, his name synonymous with corporate greed and murder. Petra had remarried and moved to Europe, finally finding peace away from the scandal. Kayla and Emma were thriving, and Wesley was a regular presence in their lives. Uncle Wesley, the man who'd made sure Aunt Stella's sacrifice meant something. Justice, Wesley had learned, wasn't just about punishment. It was about prevention. It was about making sure the next Stella Vance didn't die because someone valued profit over human life. It was about building systems and safeguards and creating a world where corporate corruption had consequences. He picked up his phone and dialed Detective Lee, who'd become a close friend over the past 2 years. Lee, the detective answered. What's the emergency? No emergency. Just wanted to see if you're free for dinner. I'm thinking of hiring another investigator, and I want your opinion on the candidates. Expanding again? At this rate, VCG is going to put the FBI out of business. Wesley laughed. That's the plan. Someone has to hold these corporations accountable. As he ended the call and packed up his office for the day, Wesley caught his reflection in the window. He looked different than he had 2 years ago. Older, tired, but also alive in a way he hadn't been since Stella's death. He'd found purpose in the ashes of tragedy, built meaning from loss. He looked up at Stella's photograph one last time before leaving. See you tomorrow, he said, a ritual he'd developed. We've got work to do. And with that, Wesley Blanchard walked out of his office and into the evening light, ready for whatever battles lay ahead. Khan was in prison. Stella's legacy was secure. And justice finally had been served. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.